Commander Zara Chen stared at the tactical display aboard the UEV Defiance, watching red dots swarm across the holographic projection like angry wasps. The Krathari fleet had emerged from hyperspace without warning, their massive dreadnoughts casting shadows over the peaceful mining colony of New Haven. "Status report," she barked, her fingers dancing across the command console. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up from his station, sweat beading on his forehead. 27 Krathari vessels, Commander. They're moving to surround the colony. We're outnumbered 15-1. Zara's jaw tightened. The Defiance was a good ship, one of humanity's newest destroyers. But against those odds, they might as well be throwing rocks at a battleship. New Haven wasn't just any colony, though. It was home to over 50,000 civilians, including hundreds of families who had come seeking a better life among the stars. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Krathari flagship," Communications Officer Park announced. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, revealing the imposing figure of Warlord Thektar, Supreme Commander of the Krathari Third Fleet. His reptilian features were twisted into what passed for a smile among his species, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. The Krathari were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless conquerors, their empire built on the bones of countless civilizations. "Human vessel," Thektar's voice rumbled through the bridge speakers, each word dripping with contempt. "You will stand down immediately. This system now belongs to the Krathari Empire." Zara stepped forward, her stance defiant despite the overwhelming odds. "This is Commander Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. New Haven is a registered human colony under the protection of the Terran Alliance. You have no authority here." Thektar's laugh was like grinding metal. "Authority? We make our own authority, little human. Your people have something we require. The rare earth deposits on this world will fuel our war machine for decades. The people of New Haven are under my protection," Zara replied firmly. "I won't let you harm innocent civilians. Harm them?" The warlord's expression shifted to mock surprise. "Why would we harm valuable workers? Your colonists will serve the Empire well as laborers. Consider it an honor to contribute to something greater than your pitiful human ambitions." The blood in Zara's veins turned to ice. "Slavery. The Krathari were talking about enslaving her people. That will never happen. As long as the Defiance draws power, we'll defend this colony." Such brave words from such a small ship. Thektar leaned forward in his command throne. "But I grow tired of this conversation. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift. Resist, and we will make examples of your people that will echo across the galaxy." The transmission cut, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Around her, Zara could see her crew looking to her for guidance, their faces a mixture of fear and determination. These were good people, volunteers all, who had signed up to protect humanity's expansion into the stars. "Commander," Rodriguez spoke quietly, "tactical analysis suggests our best option is to retreat. We could call for reinforcements, coordinate a proper response." Zara nodded slowly, understanding the logic. It made perfect military sense. One ship against a fleet was suicide, but as she looked at the sensor readings showing the massive Krathari vessels moving into position around New Haven, she thought about the families down there, children playing in the colony's parks, parents working honest jobs to build something better, elderly colonists who had risked everything for one last adventure among the stars. "Negative," she said finally. "We don't abandon civilians. Ever." The bridge crew exchanged glances, but no one protested. They knew their commander, knew the code she lived by. Human military doctrine was clear. Protect the innocent, no matter the cost. "Sir, the Krathari are deploying assault transports," Park reported. "They're heading for the colony's main settlements." Zara watched the display as dozens of smaller craft peeled away from the alien fleet, moving toward New Haven's surface like metallic birds of prey. Each transport could carry hundreds of Krathari warriors, armed and armored for conquest. "All weapon systems online," she ordered. "Helm, Take us into attack position. If we're going to make our stand, let's make it count. The Defiance surged forward, its fusion drives pushing the destroyer toward the incoming assault force. They were massively outgunned, but they had advantages too. Human ships were faster, more maneuverable. Their crews were trained to think independently, to adapt on the fly. The Crathari relied on overwhelming force and rigid hierarchies. Firing solution acquired, Rodriguez announced. Targeting lead assault transport. Fire. The Defiance's particle beams lanced out across space, striking the Crathari transport with devastating effect. The alien vessel's shields flared and failed, hull plating vaporizing under the intense energy barrage. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as the transport broke apart, scattering debris and bodies into the void. Direct hit. Target destroyed. A cheer went up from the crew, but Zara remained focused. One down, dozens to go. The Crathari fleet was already responding, the massive dreadnoughts turning their weapon batteries toward the tiny human destroyer. Evasive maneuvers, she commanded. Keep us moving. Don't give them a clean shot. The Defiance danced between incoming fire, its pilot performing impossible-seeming acrobatics as plasma bolts and missile salvos filled the space around them. The destroyer's point defense systems worked overtime, shooting down incoming projectiles while its main guns continued to target the assault transports. They managed to destroy 3 more transports before the inevitable happened. A lucky shot from one of the dreadnoughts caught the Defiance amidships, overloading the shields and punching through the armor. Alarms blared as atmosphere vented from the breached hull. "Damage report," Zara called out, gripping her command chair as the ship shuddered under continued fire. "Hull breach on Deck 7. We've lost main power to weapons and engines." "Emergency power only," Rodriguez reported. His voice strained. The Defiance drifted helplessly as the remaining Crathari transports continued toward New Haven. Zara watched in growing despair as the alien ships reached the colony's atmosphere, beginning their descent toward the settlements below. "Commander, incoming transmission from the surface." Park announced quietly. "Put it through." Dr. Sarah Martinez appeared on the screen, her face pale but determined. As the colony's chief administrator, she had been Zara's primary contact during the Defiance's patrol missions. Behind her, Zara could see other colonists, including several children clinging to their parents. "Commander Chen, we're reading multiple hostile landings across the colony. Our security forces are trying to mount a defense, but..." The transmission was interrupted by the sound of weapons fire and shouting in the background. When the image stabilized, Dr. Martinez looked directly at the camera. "We're not going to be able to hold them off. There are just too many. But I want you to know, all of us here, we understand what you tried to do. You didn't abandon us. That means everything." Before Zara could respond, the transmission cut to static. On the tactical display, she could see Crathari forces spreading across New Haven like a disease, overwhelming the lightly armed security teams and establishing control points throughout the colony. "Sir, the Crathari flagship is hailing us," Park reported. Warlord Thektar appeared on screen again, but now his expression was one of smug satisfaction. "Your resistance was entertaining, Commander Chen, but as you can see, it was ultimately futile. Your colony now serves the Empire." "This isn't over," Zara said through gritted teeth. "The Alliance will respond. Earth will respond. Perhaps. But by then, your precious colonists will be well integrated into our labor force. Speaking of which, I have something special to show you. A demonstration of Crathari efficiency." The screen split, showing a feed from the colony surface. Crathari warriors in powered armor were herding groups of colonists toward waiting transports. But what made Zara's blood run cold was a separate group being loaded onto different vehicles. Children. Dozens of them. Some crying, others too shocked to react. All being separated from their parents. "The young ones will be raised properly, taught to serve the Empire from birth," Thektar explained casually. "They will make excellent soldiers and workers, unmarred by human weakness and sentiment. Consider it a mercy." We are giving them purpose. Zara felt something break inside her chest. Around the bridge, she could hear sharp intakes of breath, muttered curses, the sound of Lieutenant Rodriguez slamming his fist against his console. The crew of the Defiance were watching children being stolen, families being torn apart, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. "You're monsters," Zara whispered. "We are efficient," Thektar corrected. "But do not despair, Commander. Your sacrifice has not gone unnoticed. The Krathari Empire values courage, even from lesser species. Your crew will be given the honor of serving aboard our vessels as technical slaves. Your knowledge of human military systems will be most useful." The Warlord gestured to someone off-screen, and Zara's display showed multiple Krathari ships moving to surround the crippled Defiance. Boarding pods were already launching from the nearest dreadnought. "Prepare for boarding," Thektar announced. "Resistance is futile. But should you choose to fight, we will simply collect your bodies, along with your ship's computer cores. The choice is yours." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. Zara looked around at her crew, seeing the same mixture of rage and helplessness in their faces that she felt in her own heart. They had failed. The colony was lost, the children taken, and soon they would be prisoners themselves. "Orders, Commander?" Zara closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of those children's faces, of Dr. Martinez's brave final words, of the trust that 50,000 colonists had placed in her protection. When she opened them again, her expression was hard as steel. "We don't give up. Not ever. The Krathari think they know humans. Think we're weak because we care about things like family and mercy." She straightened in her command chair, her voice growing stronger. "They're about to learn why that's the biggest mistake they've ever made." The first Krathari boarding pods clamped onto the Defiance's hull with metallic thuds that echoed through the ship. In the distance, more transports were lifting off from New Haven, carrying their human cargo toward the waiting fleet. The battle for the colony was over, but Zara had a feeling that this was just the beginning of something much larger, something that would shake the foundations of the Krathari Empire itself. Admiral Marcus Stone stood in the war room aboard Terra Station, humanity's primary military command center, orbiting Earth. The massive holographic display before him showed a three-dimensional map of known space, with red markers indicating Krathari territory and the newest addition that made his blood boil. New Haven, now marked as occupied. It had been 3 weeks since the Defiance's final transmission reached Earth. 3 weeks since Commander Chen and her crew had been captured. 3 weeks since hundreds of human children had been stolen from their families and disappeared into the vast expanse of the Krathari Empire. "Sir, the emergency council session is ready to begin." His aide, Captain Williams, announced quietly. Stone nodded, not taking his eyes off the display. At 62, he was a veteran of humanity's expansion into space, a man who had fought pirates, negotiated with alien traders, and supervised the establishment of dozens of colonies. But he had never faced anything like this. The systematic enslavement of human civilians, the abduction of children. It was beyond anything he had experienced in his long military career. The council chamber filled quickly as representatives from Earth's major powers took their seats around the oval table. President Chen of the Pacific Federation, Chancellor Petrov of the European Alliance, Director Singh of the African Union, and a dozen others. These were the people who decided humanity's future among the stars, and today they would decide how to respond to an act of war. "Ladies and gentlemen," Stone began, his voice carrying the weight of command, "we all know why we're here. The Krathari Empire has attacked one of our colonies, enslaved our people, and abducted our children. The question before us today is simple. What are we going to do about it?" President Chen, no relation to the captured commander, leaned forward. "Admiral, what are our military options? Can we mount a rescue operation?" Stone gestured to the display, which zoomed in to show the Krathari fleet's probable location. "The problem is we don't know where they've taken our people. The Krathari Empire spans hundreds of systems. Those children could be anywhere within a region of space larger than the entire Terran Alliance. Chancellor Petrov spoke up, his accent thick with frustration. Then we must open diplomatic channels. Perhaps we can negotiate their release, offer some form of compensation. Compensation? Director Singh's voice was sharp with anger. You want to pay ransom for our own citizens? That would only encourage more attacks. What alternative do we have? Petrov shot back. We cannot fight the entire Krathari Empire. Their military is 10 times larger than ours, their technology more advanced. A direct confrontation would be suicide. Stone watched the argument develop, understanding the positions on all sides. The politicians were thinking in terms of treaties and trade agreements, diplomatic solutions that would minimize casualties. But this wasn't a border dispute or a trade disagreement. This was something fundamental. Something that struck at the heart of what it meant to be human. There is another option, Stone said quietly, and the room fell silent. We make them regret ever hearing the word human. The display changed, showing classified military reports and intelligence assessments. The Krathari see us as weak because we value individual life, because we try to minimize casualties, because we seek peaceful solutions first. They interpret our compassion as cowardice. He paused, looking each council member in the eye. They don't understand that our greatest strength has always been that we protect our own. Every human knows that if they're in trouble, if they're threatened, if they're taken, the rest of humanity will move heaven and earth to bring them home. That's not weakness. That's what makes us human. President Chen studied the data scrolling across the display. What exactly are you proposing, Admiral? Full mobilization. Every ship, every soldier, every resource we have. We find our people, and we bring them home. And we make sure the Krathari Empire understands that taking human children is the worst mistake they've ever made. Chancellor Petrov shook his head. The cost would be astronomical. The casualties could number in the millions. Is it worth risking so much for a few thousand colonists? The room erupted in angry voices, but Stone's response cut through the noise like a blade. A few thousand colonists? Those are human beings, Chancellor. Our neighbors, our friends, our families. And among them are hundreds of children who are right now being subjected to God knows what horrors, while we sit here, debating the cost of their freedom. He stood, his imposing frame casting a shadow across the table. Let me be clear about something. If we abandon these people, if we write them off as acceptable losses, then we've already lost the war. The Krathari won't stop with New Haven. They'll see our weakness, our willingness to sacrifice our own citizens for the sake of convenience, and they'll keep taking more. Director Singh nodded slowly. The Admiral is right. This isn't just about New Haven. This is about whether humanity stands together or falls apart when faced with real adversity. Over the next several hours, the debate continued, but Stone could see the tide turning. Reports were coming in from across human space. Protests on Earth, demanding military action, colonial militias, volunteering for service, industrial corporations offering to convert their facilities for warship production. Humanity was waking up to what had happened at New Haven. And they were angry. The final vote was closer than Stone had hoped, but decisive enough. Humanity would mobilize for war. Within days, the transformation began. Civilian shipyards that had been building cargo haulers and passenger liners switched to warship production. Orbital factories that manufactured consumer goods started churning out weapons and military equipment. The combined fleets of Earth's nations merged into a single military force under Stone's command. But it was the volunteers that truly impressed him. Young men and women from across human space, many of them parents themselves, arriving at recruitment centers faster than they could be processed. Veterans coming out of retirement, even civilians with useful skills demanding to contribute somehow to the war effort. The most surprising volunteers came from an unexpected source: the alien species that humanity had encountered during its expansion. The Altarians, a peaceful trading people. offered to share intelligence about Krathari movements. The Vegan Confederation, despite their own conflicts with aggressive neighbors, pledged material support. Even the enigmatic Centauri sent a message expressing their interest in seeing Krathari expansion curtailed. It seemed that humanity wasn't the only species that had concerns about their reptilian neighbors. Stone was reviewing fleet deployments when Captain Williams approached with a priority message. "Sir, incoming transmission from deep space. It's Commander Chen." The Admiral's head snapped up. "Chen? From the Defiance? That's impossible. The ship was destroyed weeks ago. Sir, you need to see this." The main display activated, showing a grainy, obviously encrypted transmission. Commander Zara Chen appeared on screen. But she looked different, thinner, with a healing cut across her cheek and exhaustion in her eyes. Behind her was what looked like the interior of a ship, but not human design. "Admiral Stone, this is Commander Chen of the UEV Defiance. If you're receiving this transmission, then our escape plan worked. I'm currently aboard a stolen Krathari vessel with what remains of my crew and approximately 300 rescued colonists." Stone felt his heart race. Alive. They were alive. And they had people with them. Chen continued, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. "Sir, I need to report on what we've discovered about Krathari operations. It's worse than we thought. But there are also opportunities. The Krathari Empire isn't as unified as they want us to believe. There are factions, internal conflicts, species that serve them unwillingly." The transmission flickered, and Chen glanced over her shoulder before looking back at the camera. "More importantly, we have intelligence on where they're holding the children and other prisoners. But Admiral, they're not just using them for labor. They're experimenting on them, trying to understand human psychology, human resilience. They think they can break us, remake us in their image." Stone's hands clenched into fists. Around the command center, he could hear muttered curses from the staff members, listening to the transmission. "We've established contact with resistance groups within Krathari space. Other enslaved species who are willing to fight if someone gives them hope. Sir, with the right strategy, we can not only rescue our people, but potentially fracture the entire Krathari power structure." The transmission was interrupted by what sounded like weapons fire in the background. Chen looked off camera, then back. "We're going to have to move soon. They're tracking us. But Admiral, I need you to know. Every single human prisoner we've encountered, adult and child alike, they're all still fighting. They haven't broken us. They can't break us. We're coming home. And we're bringing everyone we can with us." The image began to break up, but Chen's final words came through clearly. "Tell our families we're alive. Tell them we're coming home. Tell them the Krathari made a mistake when they took our children. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten the human family." The transmission cut to static, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Stone stood slowly, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders that he hadn't even realized was there. Chen was alive. The colonists were alive. And more importantly, they were fighting back, proving once again that humans were never more dangerous than when someone threatened their young. "Captain Williams," he said, his voice carrying new authority and purpose. "Yes, sir. Send a message to all fleet commanders. Operation Homecoming is now active. We're not just going to rescue our people." He turned to face the strategic display, watching as red enemy markers flickered across the star chart. "We're going to teach the Krathari Empire why every other species in the galaxy knows better than to mess with human children." The captain smiled grimly. "Sir, what should I tell the fleet about our primary objective?" Stone looked at the last known position of the stolen Krathari ship carrying Chen and the rescued colonists, then at the vast expanse of enemy space beyond. Somewhere in that darkness, hundreds of human children were waiting for rescue, probably wondering if anyone was coming for them, if anyone even cared. "Tell them we're bringing our kids home," he said simply. "And anyone who tries to stop us is going to discover why humans are the most terrifyingly protective species in the galaxy. As alarms began sounding throughout Terra Station, calling crews to battle stations and fleets to departure positions, Stone allowed himself a small, cold smile. The Crathari thought they understood warfare, thought they could break human will through cruelty and intimidation. They were about to learn the difference between conquering a species and threatening their children. Warlord Thektar stood in his private chambers aboard the fortress ship Times Dominator *, reviewing reports from across the Crathari Empire with growing unease. What had begun as a simple colonial acquisition had somehow escalated into the largest military mobilization in recent galactic history. The humans, those supposedly weak and emotional creatures, had declared what they called a total war against his people. The initial response had been everything he expected: diplomatic protests, economic sanctions, angry speeches in their various governmental assemblies, standard reactions from a species that valued talk over action. But then, something had changed. Something he hadn't anticipated. Every human settlement, every military outpost, every civilian shipping lane had suddenly become unified in purpose. Their fragmented political systems had merged into a single war machine with one goal: the recovery of their captured people. More disturbing still were the reports from his intelligence network about human civilians volunteering for military service at unprecedented rates. "Enter," he growled as his door chimed. Sub-Commander Vekrath entered, his reptilian features showing signs of stress. As Thektar's intelligence chief, he had been tracking human activities since the New Haven operation. The news he brought was rarely good anymore. "Warlord, we have new developments. The human fleet has begun moving into our outer territories. They're not following conventional attack patterns." Thektar studied the tactical display that Vekrath activated. Red human fleet markers were scattered across multiple sectors, apparently striking random targets throughout Crathari space. "Explain these movements. They seem chaotic." "That's what we thought initially, sir. But pattern analysis suggests otherwise. They're not attacking military targets or strategic installations. They're hitting slave processing centers, labor camps, and detention facilities. They appear to be conducting rescue operations rather than conquest." The warlord's claws extended involuntarily. This was not how warfare was conducted. Proper military strategy involved seizing territory, destroying enemy fleets, forcing surrender through overwhelming force. What the humans were doing made no tactical sense. "Casualties?" he demanded. "Minimal, sir. They disable our defenses, extract prisoners, and withdraw before reinforcements arrive." "But Warlord, there's something else. They're not just taking their own people. Every facility they hit, they free all the prisoners, humans and non-humans alike." Thektar turned to stare out the viewport at the stars beyond. This was becoming troublesome. The Crathari Empire controlled dozens of species through careful application of force and fear. If those subjugated populations began to believe that resistance was possible, that someone would actually come to their aid, have any of the freed non-human populations joined the human fleet? Vekrath's silence was answer enough. "How many?" 17 species so far, Warlord. The Zilani have contributed their entire remaining fleet. The Corvan resistance has emerged from hiding and seized 3 systems. The Thraxians have begun sabotaging our supply lines from within. The Warlord's roar of fury echoed through the chamber. This was impossible. Those species had been conquered, their will broken, their populations scattered and enslaved. How had the humans managed to inspire such rebellion simply by rescuing prisoners? And our response? Admiral Krex-Tar has been pursuing the human rescue fleets, but they refuse to engage in conventional battle. They use hit-and-run tactics, superior speed, and what appears to be detailed intelligence about our operations. We've lost 14 facilities and had minimal success in intercepting their forces. Before Thektar could respond, another chime indicated an incoming priority transmission. The main display activated to show Admiral Krex-Tar himself, the commander of the Third Fleet and one of the Empire's most experienced military leaders. "Warlord," Krex-Tar began without preamble, "we have a significant problem. The human commander from the captured ship, This Chen female. She's been broadcasting across our communication networks. Broadcasting what? Messages to the human prisoners, sir. And to our other slaves. She's telling them that rescue is coming, that they should prepare to fight, that no one is forgotten. The Admiral paused, looking uncomfortable. The messages are having an effect. We're seeing increased rebellion, sabotage, escape attempts. Some of our own troops are beginning to question the stability of our position. Thektar felt something he had never experienced before. Genuine uncertainty about the outcome of a military campaign. The humans weren't playing by the rules. They weren't trying to conquer territory or destroy his fleets. Instead, they were doing something far more dangerous. They were inspiring hope. Show me these broadcasts. The display changed to show Commander Chen standing in what appeared to be the bridge of a Krathari vessel. She looked directly at the camera, and even through the alien interface, Thektar could see the unwavering determination in her eyes. This is Commander Zara Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, speaking to every human prisoner within the Krathari Empire. We are coming for you. Every single one of you. No matter where you are, no matter how long it takes, we will not leave you behind. She paused, and the camera pulled back slightly to show other humans working at stations around her. Obviously, freed prisoners, operating captured Krathari equipment. To our children who were stolen from their families, I want you to know that your mothers and fathers, your brothers and sisters, your entire human family is moving heaven and earth to bring you home. Hold on. Keep fighting. You are not forgotten. The image shifted again, and Chen addressed the camera directly. And to every other species held captive by the Krathari Empire, you are not alone anymore. Humanity extends its hand to you. Fight with us, and together we will break the chains that bind us all. The transmission ended, but the impact was clear from Admiral Krextar's expression. Warlord, this message has been transmitted across 47 systems. Our technical teams cannot seem to stop the broadcasts. Every time we shut down one relay, 10 more appear. Thektar closed his eyes, feeling the foundations of his empire beginning to crack. The Krathari way of war was based on fear, intimidation, the belief among their enemies that resistance was futile. But the humans weren't following that script. They were demonstrating something far more powerful than fear: loyalty, determination, and an absolute refusal to abandon their own. Sir, Vekrath interrupted quietly, we have another transmission coming in. It's from the human Admiral Stone. Put it through. Admiral Marcus Stone appeared on the display, standing on what was obviously the bridge of a massive human warship. Behind him, Thektar could see dozens of officers from multiple species working together with disturbing efficiency. Warlord Thektar, Stone began, his voice carrying the calm authority of absolute confidence. I am Admiral Stone of the United Earth Defense Force. I'm contacting you to discuss terms. Thektar leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. Finally, the humans were ready to negotiate. What terms do you propose, Admiral? Unconditional surrender. The warlord's roar of laughter filled the chamber. You jest, human. Your forces are outnumbered, outgunned, operating in hostile territory. What possible reason would I have to surrender to you? Stone's expression didn't change. Because we have your children. The display split, showing the interior of what appeared to be a Krathari civilian transport. But instead of human prisoners, Thektar saw dozens of young Krathari, including his own nephew, sitting in what looked like comfortable accommodations under the watchful, but not unkind, guard of human soldiers. Unlike you, Stone continued, we don't make war on children. These young Krathari were passengers on civilian vessels we captured during our operations. They are being treated well, educated about human culture, given proper food and medical care. Some of them have even expressed interest in remaining with our fleet when this conflict ends. Thektar's mind reeled. His nephew, captured, the son of his second in command. apparently chatting amicably with a human teacher. This was impossible. You see, Warlord, there's something you fundamentally misunderstood about humanity. You thought our care for children was weakness. You thought our reluctance to target civilians made us vulnerable. But what you didn't realize is that a species that protects all children, even the children of their enemies, is far more dangerous than one that preys on them. The Admiral gestured, and the display showed tactical projections. Over the past 6 weeks, we've liberated 137 Krathari facilities. We've freed over 50,000 prisoners of various species. We've inspired rebellions in 12 star systems. And we've done it all while maintaining strict rules of engagement that protect civilian populations. Stone leaned forward, and his voice carried a note of steel that made even Thektar's blood run cold. But here's the thing, Warlord. We're just getting started. Every day you delay, more of your empire joins our cause. More of your slaves remember what freedom feels like. More of your own troops begin to question why they're fighting to maintain a system that even targets children. What do you want? Thektar asked, his voice barely a whisper. All human prisoners returned, immediately and unconditionally. All non-human slaves freed to choose their own destiny. Reparations for the damage done to New Haven, and formal recognition that the abduction of civilians, especially children, will be considered an act of war against not just humanity, but every species in this galaxy that values freedom. The Warlord looked around his chamber, at his advisors, at the tactical displays showing the slow dissolution of his empire's outer territories. For the first time in his military career, he was facing an enemy that he didn't understand, couldn't predict, and apparently couldn't defeat through conventional means. And if I refuse? Stone's smile was cold as space itself. Then we continue what we're doing. We dismantle your empire one facility at a time, one system at a time, one rescued prisoner at a time. The only difference is how long it takes and how many of your own people decide to join us along the way. The transmission ended, leaving Thektar alone with his thoughts. Outside his viewport, the stars that had once represented an empire, built on conquest and fear, now seemed to mock him. The humans had done something no enemy had ever accomplished. They had made his own strength irrelevant. Hours later, as reports continued to arrive of more rebellions, more defections, more successful human rescue operations, Thektar finally understood the fundamental error in his thinking. He had assumed that because humans cared about their young, they would be weak in their response to threat. Instead, he had discovered that a species that truly protects its children will go to any length, face any odds, endure any hardship to bring them home safely. And when that species extends that same protection to the children of others, it becomes something far more dangerous than any military force. It becomes hope. As he prepared his response to Admiral Stone's ultimatum, Thektar realized that the Krathari Empire, built on fear and maintained through cruelty, had finally encountered something it could not defeat. A species that refused to abandon anyone, especially the innocent. The Warlord had lost his composure, his confidence, and ultimately his empire, the moment he asked that fateful question. You seized human offspring? He should have known that taking their children would not weaken humanity. It would only make them unstoppable.